I can get a ladder to get over here. Mike, you must have had the microphone last time. Welcome to Rotary Club of Bearden. If you would, please silence any electronic devices. Certainly appreciate everyone coming out today. And I guess I got here a little early, but the back was already filled up. Bob has got our song and pledge today. Bob.
My country, 'tis of the sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where our fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. And Hurt Plictus has got our invocation.
Bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us.
Amen.
Thank you, Hurt. Jim Burns has our guests and visitors.
All right, not too many guests and visitors, but Jeff Day, you have a guest?
Yes. It is my great pleasure today to introduce the club to Kendall Wells. Kendall is a 2010 UT graduate. He is an employee of an excellent insurance agency, the Wiley Agency. Am I getting that right? Wyatt Agency.
Oh.
And we all know Ashley. Kendall is my friend for Fort Sanders Health and Fitness. Now, he holds a degree in marketing and logistics training, and he is presently training as a health insurance specialist. Now, in this world, that means he's a very brave young man. And I encourage you to just join me in welcoming Kendall.
Any other guests out there who didn't sign up? Okay, one visiting Rotarian, Patty Daughtry from the Farragut Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And welcome, Kendall, as well. Janice, have you got no, wait a minute, I'm about to forget humor. David Alley has our humor today. How could I forget Dave?
Great, gracious welcome.
You know, guys, always speaking to the esteemed West Knox Rotary Club, I felt like a politician. I want to blame it on someone else if you don't like this the way I'm starting off. And when I get into the real jokes, I've got Ed Campbell back there, and I can blame this one on him. But they say that you, when it's written by someone else, you can't blame it. So a couple of years ago, we closed out a printing company, and collected some of the bumper stickers. And the first one, this is a pretty little blonde girl, and it says, "Sometimes when I close my eyes, I can't see." I'm married to a blonde, guys, you know that. Watch out for the idiot behind me. For all the attorneys in the room, if you can read this, I can slam on my brakes and sue you. And the classic, "I've got a perfect body, but it's in my trunk and beginning to smell." Guys, my father came from a small town in Oakdale, Tennessee, and some of the things that you hear about is like, man, Mayberry experience, but there was a town idiot in a small town now, and his name was Melvin. So Melvin was in Harriman one afternoon and was talking to a bunch of good old boys, and he turned to the guys and said, I'm getting married to Little May, and all of them knew who Little May was. And my dad said, well, Melvin, you know, that Little May's probably slept with everybody in Oakdale. And Melvin's response was, well, Oakdale's not a real big town. And then he followed up, he got down over the side and said, David, he said, how long does it take to have a baby? Dad said about 9 months, and he said, I think I got Little May about halfway pregnant. I'm going to finish it all with a classic. It's an old story about a preacher in a small town, and he was first day on the pulpit. He was asking how you become enthusiastic. And he has a wise old preacher. He said, how do you do it? And he said, well, he said, I'm going to give you a little trick of the trade. Every week you see me up there preaching and drinking water. He said, it's actually a double shot of martini. He said, I suggest you do that. It kind of helps calm the nerves. So the following week, the young preacher was on the pulpit, and he was fire, brimstone, hallelujah, yelling. And he finishes the sermon and goes to the back of the church where the wise old preacher stood. He said, how'd I do? He said, well, son, you did fine. He said, just a couple of things that I need to tell you. He said, first off, David slew Goliath. He didn't beat the holy crap. You need to take, never drink in a clear glass and take you all about him, Martin.
Thank you, Dave. I think I've seen some little boats. Janice, if you would please update us on mobile bills.
I will. I used to play piano in the saloon, and I had a bumper sticker that said, "Don't shoot me, I'm just a piano player." That was the bumper sticker I had. Of course, now I wouldn't say that to the world about shooting. I would tell you that Ray Fisher delivered mobile meals to me today, and next week is the first Friday of the month, so we have the Fab Four, which consists of Phil, Dr. Walt, Jean, and Jim, who will be delivering our mobile meals next week.
Thank you, Janice. Now, wasn't there an announcement, Ray, do you have something announcement that some lady had passed? And
Well, I think, here about 3 weeks ago, somebody mentioned that Hazel Lamb that's 102 passed away. Not true. I delivered to today.
Her meal today.
Yeah, well, she probably got hungry last couple of weeks. Well, that's good to hear. 102, wow, how super.
Hungry and mad.
Yeah, well, Ray survived anyway. Way to go, buddy. Rosa, would you please update us on Pond Gap reading?
Be happy to. Today's readers were Dick Hinton, myself, Gary Riccardi, and Justin Lyons. And for next week, we've got Dick, Rosa, and Gary again, and then we're adding J.P. Mackey. But we do need a reader for February the 12th for the 11:25 to 11:45 content time slot. So one of you would be happy to volunteer reading for it. You can let either me or Dick know. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Wayne Underwood has an announcement about our Polio Plus program this year.
Just a quick announcement, I put on your table sign-up sheet. If your name is not on the sheet, that means you've already made a contribution or pledged a contribution for the Polio Eradicator Club status for this year. You have to have $40 per average member to get that award. We're trying to up that a little bit this year to get an average of $45 per member. 2 weeks ago, we had 39 members sign up for an average of $52 per member. So I encourage everyone to do that, and I'm going to kind of reduce this down to where hopefully it's zero. Even if you just give $1, we'll take the dollar, because I want us to have 100% participation in the giving this year.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate that. I got to sign that. I haven't signed my card yet, so. Richard has an announcement on our special Valentine's celebration this year.
Yeah, who all is going to be here February the 12th? Raise your hand for me. February the 12th, that's two Fridays we get that. Okay, everybody, you're good on it? Okay, how many has signed up for the bringing their sweetie with them? You have to be your spouse.
spouse don't find out.
So, okay, we need to make sure to sign up, okay? It's gonna be some cool stuff. We're gonna prime rib that day. Honey pecan chicken, you know how to do that. So make sure, ask your sweetie, there's some missed out of the rest. And make sure you ask when you go home, make sure you try to be here. That's gonna be a good event. We're gonna have roses for the women. Did I say prime rib? Yeah. Exactly. The roses are gonna have drawing, have gift certificates, and we may have some little wine in here, drawing for wine too. So make sure you're here. Okay? Sign up so that we need a good head count for the day. So if you're gonna bring somebody, make sure you tell us the day beforehand. Okay? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Richard. And we got another little special thing following that Rotary meeting, at 3 o'clock, Westmoreland Nursing Home. We're going to deliver roses, and those Rotarians or sweetie spouse, what they go to the meet at 3 o'clock at the Westmoreland Nursing Home. We're going to hand out roses to some of the patients there, or residents there. So they're really excited about us meeting there at 3 o'clock and bringing them maybe a little cheer or joy or happy Valentine's. So thanks a lot, Richard. That's it for our announcements. Phil Parkey is going to announce our distinguished guest today, guest speaker.
It is our unique pleasure today to have Robert J. Booker. A lot of you know Mr. Booker from his columns in the News Sentinel, but a little bit about his background. I don't want to tell you too much because I don't want to take away from his time. He's a native of Knoxville, where he graduated from Austin High School. He served in the U.S. Army in France and England. He graduated from Knoxville College in 1962 with a B.S. in Education, where he majored in English and French. At Knoxville College, he was a 2-year president of the student body. He taught French later at Howard High School in Chattanooga for 2 years. And I'm just jumping through this where I can give him time. For 16 years, he was the director of the Beck Culture Exchange. He has written 4 books. 200 Years of Black Culture in Knoxville, Tennessee, 1791 to 1991. And There Was Light, the 120-year history of Knoxville College, 1875 to 1995. The Heat of Red Summer, and From the Bottom Up, which has not been published yet. He is, as I mentioned, he currently writes an article for the News Sentinel. In 2007, he was elected to the East Tennessee Writers Hall of Fame. In 2008, the Summit Hill Avenue Bridge was named after Mr. Booker. And my wife wanted to be here and hear him today. She couldn't, so he's autographed my program here. Mr. Booker, would you please come forward? Let's give him a welcome.
Thank you, Phil. I do appreciate that introduction, and I'm quite honored to be with you this day. I don't know if it's afternoon or not, but I'm happy to be with you today. I didn't come here to tell any jokes. I want to do some other stuff, but I got to do this one because your humorist really set me off when he talked about the preacher and the drink and the fire and the brimstone. There was this little Baptist church in West Tennessee that burned down, and the people were in a quandary as to where to hold their Sunday morning services. There were no buildings readily available as a substitute. So finally, the guy who owned the local night spot in the community came to the pastor and said, "Pastor, my nightclub is closed on Sunday, and I'd be honored if you'd have your congregation come and worship there on Sunday." Well, being the good Baptist minister he wasn't too keen to have any services in a nightclub. But he had no alternative. So he arrived early that Sunday morning and made sure that there were no dirty ashtrays or glasses around. And the nightclub owner's parrot said, looks like we have a new bartender today. Pretty soon the ushers came in and they were prancing around and lining up the chairs and putting hymnals on them. Parrot says, ooh, some new go-go girls even. And then at the stroke of the hour of 11 o'clock, the general congregation came in. The parrot says, oh Lord, the same old crowd. So I guess I could say to you that I've spoken to virtually every Rotary Club in this county except yours. So for the first time, I'm again among the same old crowd. I read a lot of old newspapers. It's my favorite pastime to go to the McClung collection and read microfilm papers. We have virtually every newspaper that was published in Knoxville from 1791 until today. And there's some mighty interesting subject matter in those papers. And so I thought it would be a great idea to share with some of these civic clubs and churches some of the things I have found that I think you would love to know about. I'm sorry, my throat is getting a frog into something. You know, today it's simple for us when we're going somewhere just to walk out, jump in the car and take off and go. Or we can catch a bus that's 2 blocks away to take us where we want to go, or we can go to the airport or whatever. But it was not always that easy. So this is from Brownlow's Whig, January 12, 1850. Stage fare reduced, that's the heading. The subscribers take this method of informing the public generally, and the traveling public in particular, that they have reduced the fare on the south route from Knoxville to Dalton via Maryville, Madisonville, and Athens, 115 miles to $8. The roads are good, the coach is comfortable. 4-horse coaches and the drivers are careful and experienced. This line of stages leaves Knoxville on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Returning will leave Dalton on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that was the announcement as to how to get south. Other ways we traveled in Knox County was interesting to me. And this is from the Knoxville Daily Tribune, March 25th, 1892. The Kingston Pike has been bought by the county. The trade for the road was closed yesterday. The road begins at the western limit of the city and runs to Bearden, a distance of 5 miles. The price was $5,000 and the money will come out of the Pike Fund. The county will not take possession until September 15th, when the gates will be taken down. The agreement to sell was signed by every stockholder of the road, meaning it was a toll road. The county controls the following pikes, aggregating 82 miles. Kingston Pike, 5 miles. Boyd's Ferry, 5. Martinville, 5. Tazewell Pike, 5. Clinton, 8. Third Creek, 4. Washington Pike, 5. Rutledge Pike, 6. Sharps Gap, 8. Middlebrook Pike, 5. And Pickens Gap, 2. So you see, that's another way we got around on the toll roads. Now, it's no problem for us to go to a water tap and get a glass of water if we want to, or if we're in a facility away from home. We can go to the water fountain and get a drink, but that was not always the case in Knoxville. This is an article from the Knoxville Daily Tribune, dated May 13, 1883. Yesterday morning at 11 o'clock, a crowd of citizens assembled on Reservoir Hill in the eastern part of the city. If you know where Green Elementary is, if you know where the Fort Hill building is, You know, that's the area they're talking about. They were there to witness a ceremony of turning the water into the mains, which are to supply the city. The machinery was all in perfect working order, and several 100,000 gallons of water had already been pumped into the 2 reservoirs at the top of the hill. The next thing was to turn the water into the mains, which would carry it to all parts of the city. Great excitement was created on Gay Street when an immense volume of water was seen to issue from the ground at the corner of Gay and Vine Streets. The crust of the street was raised suddenly, and the volume of water shot many feet into the air. Soon a perfect torrent was sweeping down Gay Street toward the passenger depot, and everything was carried before it. In less than 2 hours, the broken pipe had been dug out and taken from the main and a new joint substituted. The pipe was a defective one, and the immense pressure of the water had caused it to burst. The water was again turned on yesterday afternoon and worked beautifully for some time, when suddenly a volume of water was seen issuing from the ground in front of the Lamar House, near the corner of Cumberland and Gay Streets. The damage was repaired before night, and everything was ready for another trial in the morning. All right. There's no problem for us to use our cell phones. The old pay phones are gone that I'm used to using. I never used a cell phone, so I'm not up with it yet. But this is a story about the coming of the telephone to Knoxville, from the Knoxville Daily Tribune, February 14, 1888. New telephones soon to be in use in the city of Knoxville. On account of the high cost and inefficiencies, Knoxville's present telephone system is very unsatisfactory. There are only 180 telephones in use in Knoxville, and with the small number, the service cannot be very valuable. Still, we must pay as much for each instrument as telephones cost in cities where 500 are in use. But the backbone of the telephone monopoly has been broken. The Bell telephone has a formidable rival. It has already been introduced in many southern cities and will soon be in use in Knoxville. And we refer to the Cushman Telephone Company. And here's a like article from the Tribune, September 14, 1892. Headline, "You may telephone anywhere now for a nickel. Drop your nickel in a slot and talk to any part of the city. That is what you may do at the new automatic telephone pay station in the lobby of the Hattie House. The telephone company has purchased a number of ingenious and expensive long-distance telephones, which are equipped with automatic devices for collecting and registering tolls. For a quarter, anyone can talk with anyone in Maryville." Now this next one is one of my favorite stories, unbelievable but true. And this is from the Knoxville Daily Press and Herald, dated May 2nd, 1875. And it's headed, "Demon of the Storm." The morning had been cloudy with occasional rains, but toward noon the sun shone with brilliancy. And though a high wind prevailed, yet to the ordinary observer, there were no signs of a coming storm. About 3:40, the wind completely lulled and the rain ceased. Then it was from our office window we observed an unusual commotion on Gay Street, and men running hastily towards the river. A thought of the Gay Street bridge flashed like a revelation, and hastily reaching the street, we heard on every side the tidings, "The bridge has blown away." It was all too true, at the very height of the storm, while the wind was sweeping fiercely up the river, and the torrents of rain descending. I love the way they write this stuff. The bridge across the Tennessee River at the foot of Gay Street had been swept away. From its fastenings on the massive masonry, the debris went crashing 100 feet downward into the river. 7 spans, 1,235 feet of the bridge were swept off. Fortunately, no lives were lost. No person was on the bridge at the time, save 3 men who were in the toll house about 1/3 of the way across from this side. They were Mr. G.T. Ford, the bridge tender, again a toll bridge, and another white man and a colored man who had been crossing the bridge and taken refuge from the storm in the small lodge of the bridge tender. The 3 men were no means easy in their minds as the storm raged. And when the trembling motion and ominous swaying of the bridge conveyed to their frightened souls the presence of imminent danger, they ran incontinently toward Gay Street. Incontinently in the paper meant without stopping, but I'm sure those men were incontinent. Another couple of little items about the Gay Street Bridge that I think you will appreciate. And this is from the Knoxville Journal and Tribune, November 5th, 1905. And it's headed Red Hot Meeting of South Side Citizens. Residents of South Knoxville and the city called an indignation meeting last night. They met in the South Knoxville High School building and filled to capacity its auditorium. The subject of the meeting was to act in reference to the arrest recently made by deputy sheriffs of people driving faster than a walk over the Tennessee River Bridge. They presented a resolution in protest to the Sheriff's Department. And 8 days later, the Journal and Tribune reported this. Deputy Sheriff Friday Cruz will assume his duties on the Knox County Bridge this morning for the purpose of seeing that the bridge is not used as a speedway. The law, it is claimed by the sheriff, does not allow a pace faster than a walk and will be enforced strictly, though not as a persecution. Exceptions will be made in cases where a physician is hurrying to a patient, where anyone is hurrying for a physician, where an officer is hurrying after a prisoner, or other similar emergencies suggested by common sense. So just didn't use the Gay Street Bridge as a speedway. You know, today we have gas chambers, and I suppose there are some electric chairs left somewhere. I think Kansas was the last state that hanged people officially. We had a lot of official hangings here in Knoxville. Those that were not going to attract a lot of citizens were done in the county jail. If the sheriff thought more people were going to turn out for a hanging, it was held at the south end of the Gay Street Bridge in a big field. And if the turnout was to be humongous, they held the hangings in a field near where the new Sentinel sits today. Now, we have seen these old westerns. When somebody was to be hanged, the buggies and wagons would come to town. People would really bring their picnic baskets and whatever in the Old West. It happened right here in Knoxville too. It just didn't happen in the Old West. And this is from the Knoxville Daily Press and Herald, dated August 14, 1875. And the heading is Doomsday. The 13th of August has passed, and the sentence of the law has been executed upon the body of John Webb. At 25 minutes past 1 o'clock yesterday, his death was witnessed by at least 12,000 people. There weren't that many people in Knoxville. Before detailing the scene surrounding and at the scaffold, we will devote some lines to the scenes and incidents occurring Thursday night after our visit to the jail at 11 o'clock. In the city, the arriving of trains from the east and west were bringing numbers of morbid sight seekers, while on every road and pike, the constantly arriving country wagons laden with men, women, and children, all bound to the same end, were adding to the numbers. At the jail, Webb slept, though he cannot be said to have rested. Breakfast was served to him at 8 o'clock, and he ate very heartily. His confessor then visited him, and sacrament was administered to him about 9:30 o'clock. A glass of liquor was sent to the cell, which the prisoner drank against the protestations of the good father. Webb wanted to shave, but Sheriff Swan refused to allow a razor near him. This refusal angered Webb very much, and he made a vulgar and profane rejoinder. Nobody can write like this. At the appropriate hour, the sheriff notified Webb that they would start. His hands were manacled, and he was taken to a large 2-horse wagon in front of the jail. Seats had been added to it, and Mrs. Webb sat by her husband and the priest. The way for the wagon was cleared by the sheriff's posse, 50 strong. The crowd that had been seen earlier near the jail and on the pike had converged at the execution site and was simply enormous. We heard it estimated at 15,000, but it would certainly be safe to put it at 12,000. There were whites and blacks, men and women, boys and girls, and infants in arms. Arriving at the gallows, the wagon was drawn directly under it and stopped. Webb was given the opportunity to say what he knew about the murder of Old Man Reynolds, for whom he had been convicted. Instead, he chose to say goodbye to his friends and denounced the witnesses against him as liars and said they had sworn falsely. The time arrived to close the drama. Webb's legs were bound and the rope adjusted over the crosspiece, all being ready. Mrs. Webb was assisted from the wagon to the ground. The poor woman's nerves had totally give way, and her screams were agonizing and heartbreaking. The black cap was drawn over the murderer's face. The wagon started forward, and he was swinging in midair. Oh, that's journalism. Still have a few more minutes?
About 5 more.
All right. This one is really amusing to me. I talked about transportation a while ago, how we got from place to place. But this is a new transportation mode of transportation that I wouldn't have expected in this situation. And this is from the Knoxville Tribune, March 20, 1895. Coroner King and Deputy Sheriff Rawlings left yesterday morning for Sevierville on the old steamer telephone, having in custody W.H. Gass, the alleged murderer of Dr. Henderson of Sevierville. Gass was brought here 2 weeks ago, having failed to give a peace bond. He was sent to Knox County because Sheriff Maples of Sevier County is his father-in-law. The party left Knoxville at 7 o'clock yesterday morning. From accounts of those on board, it seems that the officers in charge of Gass soon began to hit the flowing bowl and became so generous-hearted that even Gas was given his full share of the booze water. By noon, the three felt their oats and behaved in anything but the way they should. The officers fired at different objects along the shore. And it is said that the prisoner was given possession of one of the pistols and allowed to try his hand at marksmanship. About the middle of the day, Gas went into one of the rooms of the boat and lay down. The officers, supposedly becoming suspicious, went into the room and found Gas in the act of taking some white powder, presumably morphine, which he threw into the river. This apparently brought the officers to their senses, and Gas was searched. In one of his pockets was a bottle of oil of cedar. So you see, the newspapers are just full of this serious nonsense, whatever, and it's just so much fun to read them, and I'm happy I could share a few tidbits with you today. Thank you so very much.
That's so interesting. It's certainly a lot different than the way we do our text messages. Here, we'd like to give you a paperweight on behalf of our club, and here's a book to sign, but do we have a label for him to sign for this? Did I miss?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. We got a label, we'll get it to you if you don't mind signing this. We donate a book on your behalf to the library at Pond Gap. We'll get you a label if you don't mind, and then we'll sign it, or you can sign there, it'll be fine. Okay. But we donate that book on your behalf. You'll be on a speaker at our club today at Pond Gap Elementary. So thank you so much. What an interesting ride that we've
Can I answer some questions?
Go ahead, a couple of quick questions.
You got a question?
How many newspapers has Knoxville had? Because you're a lot of articles you mentioned. I heard 3 or 4 different newspapers.
We started with the Knoxville Gazette in 1791. We've had, my guess is a good 50 through the years, maybe more, but at least 50 that I've been able to put my hands on. Some were more prolific than others, like the Tribune and those like that, the Press and Herald, but we've had many. In fact, the starting newspaper, the Gazette, did not start in Knoxville. It originated in Rogersville because the editors and those people were afraid of Indian raids and whatever, so they waited until the city was more organized and they could feel better protected, and then they moved that facility here to Knoxville.
Have you ever been on the radio, or have you ever been a narrator? Your speaking voice is excellent.
Well, yeah, I've done I'm a record collector, I'm a disc jockey, so I've done 3 radio shows, and because I'm always called to come and comment on something or other, so it's just a lot of fun.
Last question. Rogers?
Yes.
How long did it take them to rebuild the Gay Street Bridge after it blew down?
Interesting, I just finished a complete study of the Gay Street Bridge that I'm going to publish and give to Knox Heritage as a fundraiser with pictures. The very first Gay Street Bridge was a pontoon bridge by the Union Army in 1863. A flood destroyed it once it had been taken over by the county. The county built a wooden bridge in 1872 or 73. That was the one that blew down in 1875. The bridge was reconstructed about 1880 or 81, and it was good until 1898, until we got the one we have today, which was finally a steel bridge, which is not a wooden bridge. Of course, it's been remodeled time and time again. So the Gay Street Bridge tells a tremendous story. In fact, I found perhaps where the first person committed suicide on the Gay Street Bridge in 1897 or something like that. It's documented. Okay.
Robert, if you would please come back to our our club anytime, and we'd love to have you and as a visitor and also perhaps another program. Gary's going to update us on the family of Rotary.
Well, the news started out kind of slow this week. There wasn't much out there. But in the Shepherd News, the Rotary guy noted Bob Holsup's passing, and he noted that Bob was a tremendous asset to the Rotary Club, our Rotary Club, and to the community, and he will be greatly missed. And I have revised that because in today's paper, there was an excellent article on Pond Gap. And it seems that Pond Gap Schools in the paper today, 15 educators from Memphis visited Pond Gap to study their community school program and see how if this program can be implemented in Memphis schools. And one educator said it's a no-brainer. And because it was kind of slow, I'd like to ask all of you, if you see anything that we should be talking about during Rotary Family, events any of our members, please bring it to my attention. You can email me, call me, whatever, but let me know. Now, we got birthdays, and we have one birthday today, which is Janice Mitchell. Janice, stand up. Then on February 1st, we've got Jim Turner, and on February 3rd, we've got John Hines. Read those here. I guess they didn't like our singing, so they kind of avoided this week. But let's sing to Janice. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Janice. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Gary.
It's hard to sing to a music teacher, isn't it?
Yeah, we miss her singing, really. Yeah, buddy.
One quick thing, I've got to tell Gary, Jason Fields, everybody knew his mom had a massive heart attack November of last year, and actually, he was telling me this yesterday, that they only give him about, he said, just a few days to live. Now, as of last week, she's at home walking on her own.
Oh, boy. Wow.
That's a big, big blessing, and
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Wayne has some special Paul Harris Fellowship Awards.
Always a pleasure to bring some notoriety to our members who have contributed to the Paul Harris Foundation. And I guess y'all know the speech, but I think it's important because I know we always have some guests that are here or new members, and maybe they haven't been here before. Maybe a little variation, but Paul Harris Fellowship, as you all know, is named for Paul Harris, one of the founders of Rotary. In 1957, the Paul Harris Foundation was started, and at that time was a contribution, and still is, of $1,000. I know Gary Eastman has noted that that's $9,000 in today's money. The foundation funds an array of projects that save and invigorate the lives and enhance international friendship and the understanding of people around the world, and right here in our own backyard. The foundation programs provide educational opportunities, food, portable water, health care, immunization for millions of people around the world. And these activities are funded, implemented, and managed by Rotarians and Rotary clubs around the globe. 50% of the money that we donate to the Rotary Foundation comes back to our district. And then we spend that money for projects that we're working on here and other places. 50% goes to the World Fund, which we can also apply for. We're participating in a project actually in Kentucky for portable water up there for them, which is an international project. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, you join a remarkable company of persons throughout the world, all recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. While it is an honor to receive a Paul Harris Fellow, it's not about the recognition, it's about what we can do in the world as Rotarians. Those being recognized today have either contributed their first $1,000 or multiple $1,000s. Their contributions make it possible for our club to help others, and
most notable that the foundation has been spearheading for many years is the elimination of polio, and we're getting very close to that. So now we honor our fellow Rotarians and their new milestones. Every new Paul Harris Fellow receives a certificate, a pen, and a medal. And so today it's my pleasure to recognize Leo Knight for his contribution to the Rotary Foundation in becoming a Paul Harris Fellow. So, Leo.
I've decided that I'm going to put the medal on the new ones because you may or may not ever wear this again. But it may wind up in a drawer somewhere, but I think you will give that to you. Congratulate you on that. You have a pen that you can wear at meetings and so forth to show that you're a Paul Harris Fellow, and then suitable use for framing is your certificate with winter nights, as we refer to as Leo. But congratulations, Leo.
Thank you.
I think he'd give you a cigar too.
Yeah, maybe a cigar.
We also recognize two other of our members today that both have become Paul Harris Fellows +2, meaning that they've contributed at least a minimum of $3,000 to the foundation. So I'd like to recognize Janice Mitchell and Dr. Walt Bean, if y'all would come forward. Doctor? Oh, sorry. Congratulations. Janice? Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
All right.
There you go, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Just a few other things. One, I would hope that y'all will spend till the last few minutes till we leave to be sure that if your name is on the polio eradicator list, that you will make a contribution to that. It can be, you can be billed, or if you want to write a check, I'll take that check today as well. The club also does a matching contribution to the Paul Harris Fellow, which we're going to do until, I've extended a little bit because I wasn't here last week, until February 19th. But if you'll give a minimum of $250 to the Rotary Foundation, the club will match that. So I guess if you want to give $500, we'll match $500 and give you points towards your Paul Harris Fellow. So it's a good opportunity to move up and make a significant contribution to the Rotary Foundation. That's it.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Obviously, that's very close to Wayne's heart and soul, and he does a fantastic job of that. Dr. Bean, Janice, thank you. Leo, thank you very much. We've got some tickets, I believe, for ball games. Mike, is that correct? A ticket or two?
About any way you want.
All right, we actually have several, and I thought we might change it up just a tad bit today in light of the recent performance of the Lady Vols basketball team. We're going to do what we've normally done, which is the winner of the trivia, or the correct answer on the trivia, gets 2 questions. The losers get 4 tickets.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Same as always. Okay, we're going to start with 2 Lady Vols tickets to the Arkansas game on Thursday, February the 4th. And we'll start with, this one's a sports one. Please raise your hand if you know the answer. Where is the Rose Bowl played?
Both.
Pasadena. Pasadena, that is correct. Right. That is correct. They're not all sports, by the way.
He wins all the time.
He does.
He's a brilliant man. Or he paid me off for the answers, one or the other. Second, we have 2 more Lady Vols tickets for the same game, Arkansas on the 4th. Okay. Poker question. The games. What's the lowest hand that beats ace high in straight poker?
Pair of deuces.
Pair of deuces.
Oh, we know what you do here.
Turkey Creek's got a poker night coming up. You better run the gold there.
All right, we're moving to, actually, I got these out of order, so actually the next tickets are for this Sunday's game against Alabama, Lady Vols against Alabama. Got 2 of those. Okay, entertainment question. What character did John Wayne play in True Grit? Adam? Yes.
Rooster Cogburn.
Rooster Cogburn, that's correct. All right, moving right along. 2 more Lady Vols tickets to same game, Alabama on Sunday. This one's a geography question, it's easy though. What are the Twin Cities?
I'll defer. I can't go to the game. It's Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Now he's got another.
Yeah, I've got more questions.
Legal term, I guess.
Okay, we'll go to literature for the more educated of the group. What Russian novel embracing more than 500 characters is set in the Napoleonic Wars? Give him 2 tickets.
Hey, you're gonna have to get rid of, these tickets are going over here. You can give them to who you want.
Okay, now to some really good ones. These are the men Vols team on February 2nd against those kittens from up north of us, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
So,
Big game.
sports related, I guess. How long is the Le Mans endurance race?
24 hours.
24 hours, you got it.
Yeah. Great. You can raise your hand after you.
Okay.
Follow instructions. I didn't follow it. It was past president.
It was terrible. It was simultaneous, I saw it. All right, last tickets, same Kentucky game tickets. Who defeated Sugar Ray Leonard in the brawl in Montreal? You've already won. Can you win?
You've already won. No, you're out. Michael Spinks?
No.
Repeat the question.
Okay. Who defeated Sugar Ray Leonard in the brawl in Montreal? Pardon? Did you raise your hand first?
Yes, he did.
Okay, then it's Roberto Duran. No mas, no mas. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Folks, we're going to close this thing up. I wanted to remind you about the Tennessee Rotary license plate. We have some sign-up sheets at the front desk. Please get one, fill it out, turn it in, and let's get those billboards, moving billboards on our cars. Thank you all for coming. Kendall, please come back. We'd love to see you. And Jeff, thanks for bringing it. With a 4-way trivia contest today, please raise your hand to answer. And Bob, I hate to say it, but you're ineligible for this one. January marks a special month for the Rotary Club of Bearden, our club. What is it? Jim?
They were first organized in 1960 or 61.
That's it, it's their anniversary. So, it's the 56th anniversary this month, and thank you very much. You'll get a 4-way test coin. I'm going to give you one too, Bob, our charter member. And Art Pickles got one coming to him too. Our 2 charter members are still in the club. All right, with that, are there any other announcements? Okay, and Rogers, we'll get to you when we get more time. So, who's got paper? Let's close this thing up. All right, 4-way test. Jim?
4-way test, as a thing we can't say or do. First.
Is the truth.
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.